read a couple of sentences where we left off, so we are not totally confused. Let's start. This would not be an advent, said Alice, who felt very glad to get an opportunity of showing off a little of her knowledge. You think that what work it would make with the day and night. You see, the earth takes 24 hours to turn around on its axis. Talking of axis, said the Duchess, top of her head. Alice glanced rather anxiously at the cook to see if she means to take the hint, but the cook was busily engaged in stirring the soup and did not seem to be listening, so she ventured to go on again. 24 hours, I think, or is it 12? Oh, don't bother me, said the Duchess. I never could abide figures. And with that, she began nursing her child again, singing a sort of lullaby to it, and as she did so, giving it a violent shake at the end of every line. Speak roughly to your little boy and beat him when he sneezes. He only does it to annoy because he knows it teases. Chorus in which the cook and the baby joined. Whoa, whoa, whoa. While the Duchess sang the second verse of the song, she kept tossing the baby violently up and down, and the poor little thing howled so that Alice could hardly hear the words. I speak severely to my boy. I beat him when he sneezes, for he can thoroughly enjoy the pepper when he pleases. Chorus. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Here, you may nurse it a bit if you like, the Duchess said to Alice, flinging to the baby at her as she spoke. I must go and get ready to play croquet with the Queen. And she hurried out of the room. The cook threw a frying pan after her as she went out, but it just missed her. Alice caught the baby with some difficulty, as it was a queer-shaped little creature, and held out its arms and legs in all directions, just like a starfish. Thought Alice, the poor little thing was snorting like a steam engine. When she caught it, she kept doubling itself up and straightening itself out again, so that altogether, for the first minute or two, it was as much as she could do to hold it. As soon as she had made out the proper way of nursing it, which was to twist it up into the sort of a knot, and then keep tight hold of its right ear and left foot so as to prevent it undoing itself. She carried it out into the open air. If I don't take this child away with me, that Alice, they are sure to kill it in a day or two. Wouldn't it be murder to leave it behind? She said the last words out loud, and the little thing grunted incredibly. It had a left of sneezing, but this time, don't grunt, said Alice. That's not at all proper way to expressing yourself. The baby grunted again, and Alice looked very anxiously into the face to see what was the matter with it. There could be no doubt that it had a very torn-up nose, much more like a snout than a real nose, Alice, it was only shopping, she thought, and looked into its eyes again to see if there were any tears. No, there were not tears. If you are going to turn into a pig, my dear, said Alice seriously, I'll have nothing more to do with you. Mind now. The poor little thing sobbed again, or granted it was impossible to say which, and they went on for some while in silence. Alice was just beginning to think to herself now, what am I to do with this creature when I get it home? When it grounded again so violently that she looked down into its face in some alarm. This time there could be no mistake about it. It was neither more nor less than a pig, and she felt that it would be quite absurd for her to carry it around further. So she got a little creature down and felt quite relieved to see it trot away quietly into the wood. If it had grown up, she said to herself, it would have been made a dreadfully ugly child, but it makes a rather handsome pig, I think. And she began thinking over other children she knew who might do very well as pigs, and was saying to herself, if one only knew the right way to change them. When she was a little startled by seeing the Cheshire cat sitting on bough of a tree a few yards off. The cat only grinned when it saw Alice. It looked good-natured, she thought. Still, it had very long gloves and great many teeth, so she felt that it ought to be treated with respect. Cheshire Puss, she began rather timidly, as she did not at all know whatever it would like the name. However, it only grinned a little wider. Come, it's please so far, thought Alice, and she went on. Would you tell me, please, which way I could go from here? That depends a good deal on where you want to go, sighed the cat. I don't much care where, sighed Alice. There, then it doesn't matter which way to go, said the cat. Oh, yeah, the cat is, and so long as I get somewhere, Alice added an explanation. Oh, you are sure to do that, said the cat. If you only walk long enough. Alice felt that this could not be denied, so she tried another question. What sort of people live about here? In that direction, the cat said, waving its right paw round, lives a hatter, and in that direction, waving the other paw, lives March Hare. Visit either you like, they're both mad. But I don't want to go among mad people, Alice remarked. Oh, you can't help that, said the cat. We're all mad here. I'm mad, you're mad. How do you know I'm mad, said Alice. You must be, said the cat, or you wouldn't have come here. Alice didn't think that proved it all. However, she went on, and how do you know that you're mad? To begin with, said the cat, dog's not mad. You grant that? I suppose so, said Elise. Well, then the cat went on. You see, a dog growls when it's angry and wags its tail when it's pleased. Now, I growl when I'm pleased and wag my tail when I'm angry. Therefore, I'm mad. I call it purring out what you like, said the cat. Do you play croquet with the queen today? I shouldn't like it very much, said Alice, but I haven't been invited yet. You'll see me there, said the cat, and vanished. Alice was not much surprised at this event, getting so used to queer things happening. While she was looking at the place where it had been, it suddenly appeared again. By the by, what became of the baby? Said the cat. I nearly forgetting to ask. I turned it into a pig, Alice quietly said, just as if it had come back in a natural way. I thought it would, said the cat and vanished again. Alice waited a little, half expecting to see it again, but it did not appear, and after a minute or two, she walked on in the direction in which the March hare was said to live. I've seen hatters before, she said to herself. The March hare will be much the most interesting, and perhaps as this is May, it won't be raving mad. At least not so mad as it was in March. As she said this, she looked up, and there was the cat again, sitting on a branch of a tree. Did you say a pig or a fig? Said the cat. I said pig, replied Alice, and I wish you wouldn't keep appearing and vanishing so suddenly. You make one quite giddily. All right, said the cat, and this time it vanished quite slowly, beginning with the end of the tail and ending with the grin, which remained some time after the rest of it had gone. Well, I've often seen a cat without a grin, thought Alice, but a grin without a cat, it's the most curious thing I ever saw in my life. She had not gone much farther before she came in sight of the house of the March hare. She thought it must be the right house because the chimneys were shaped like ears, and the roof was with a fur. It was so large a house that she did not like to go nearer till they had nibbled some more of the left-hand bit of a mushroom and raised herself to about 2 feet high. Even then she walked up towards it rather timidly, saying to herself, suppose it should be raving mad after all. I'll almost wish I'd gone to see theatre instead. A mad tea party, it's the chapter's name. There was a table set out. Did I skip a page? Oh, excuse me. I didn't. So it's the mad tea party. There was a table set out under a tree in front of the house, and the March hare and the hatter were having a tea at in. Dormouse was sitting between them, fast asleep, and the other two were using it a cushion, resting their elbows on it and talking over it head, very uncomfortable for the dormouse, thought Alice. Only as it asleep, I suppose it doesn't mind. The table was a large one, but the three were all crowded together at one corner of it. No room, no room, they cried. Oh, notice of Alice coming. There's plenty of room, said Alice in, in, indecently, and she sat down in large armchair at one end of the table. Have some wine, the March Hare said in the Ecuadorian tone. Alice looked all around the table, but there was nothing on it but tea. I don't see any wine, she remarked. There isn't any, said the March Hare. Then it wasn't very civil of you to offer it, said Alice angrily. It wasn't a very civil of you to sit down without being invited, said the March Hare. I didn't know it was your table, said Alice. It's late for a great many more than 3. Your hair wants cutting, said the Hatter. He had been looking at Alice for some time with great curiosity, and this was his first speech. You should learn not to make personal remarks, Alice said with some severity. It's very rude. The others opened his eyes very wide on hearing this, but all he said was, why is a raven like fretting desk? Come, we shall have some fun now, thought Alice. I'm glad they began asking riddles. I believe I can guess that, she added aloud. Do you mean that you think you can find out the answer to it, said the March Hare. Exactly so, said Alice. Then you should say what you mean, the March Hare went on. I do, Alice hastily replied. At least I mean what I say. That's the same thing, you know. Not the same thing a bit, said the other. You might just as well say that I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see. You might just as well say, added the March Hare, that I like what I get is the same thing as I get what I like. You might just as well say, added Dormouse, who seemed to be talking in his sleep, that I breathe when I sleep is the same thing as I sleep when I breathe. It is the same thing with you, said the other, and here the conversation dropped, and the party sat silent for a minute while Alice thought over all she could remember about ravens and writing desks. This wasn't much. The other was the first to break the silence. What day of the month is it? He said, turning to Alice. He had taken his watch out of his pocket and was looking at it uneasily, shaking it every now and then and holding it into his ear. Alice considered a little and then said, the 4th 2 days wrong, cited the other. I told you butter wouldn't suit the works, he added, looking angrily at the March Hare. It was the best butter, the March Hare meekly replied. Yes, but some crumbs must have got into as well. The other scrambled. You shouldn't have put it in with the bread knife. As the March Hare took the watch and looked at it calmly, then he His first remark, "It was the best butter, you know." Alice had been looking over his shoulder with some curiosity. "What a funny watch," she remarked. "It tells the day of the month and doesn't tell what o'clock it is." "Why should it?" muttered the other. "Does your watch tell you what year it is?" "Of course not," Alice replied very radically, "but that's because it stays the same year for such a long time together." "Which is just the case with mine," said the other. Alice felt dreadfully puzzled. The other's remark seemed to have no sort of meaning in it, and yet it was certainly English. "I don't quite understand you," she said, as politely as she could. "The dormouse is asleep again," said the other, and he burst a little hot tea upon its nose. The dormouse shook its head immediately and said, without opening its eyes, of course, just what I was going to remark myself. Have you guessed the riddle yet?" the other said, turning Alice again. "No, I give it up," Alice replied. "What's the answer?" "I haven't the slightest idea," said the other. Nor I, said the much hair. Alice sighed wearily. "I think you might do something better with the time," she said, "than waste it in asking riddles with no answers." "If you know time as well as I do," said the others, "you wouldn't talk about wasting it. It's him." "I don't know what you mean," sighed Alice. "Of course you don't," the other said, tossing his head contemptuously. "I dare say you never even spoke the time." "Perhaps not," Alice casually replied, "but I know I have to beat time when I learn music." "Ah, that accounts for it," said the other. "He won't stand beating. Now if you only kept on good terms with him, he'd do almost anything you liked with the clock. For instance, suppose it were 9 o'clock in the morning, just time to begin lesson. You'd only have to whisper at into time, and round goes a clock in a twinkling. 1:30, time for dinner." "I only wish it was," the marcher sighed to itself in a whisper. "That would be grand, certainly," said Alice thoughtfully. "But then I shouldn't be hungry for it, you know." "Not at first, perhaps," said the other, "but you could keep it to 1:30 as long as you like." "Is that the way you manage?" Alice asked. The other shook his head mournfully. "No, he replied, "we quarreled last March, just before he went mad, you know," pointing with his teaspoon at the March hair. It was at the great concert given by the Queen of Hearts, and I had to sing 'Twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder what you're at.'" "You know the song, perhaps?" "I've heard something like it," said Alice. "It goes on, you know." The others got on in this way. "Up above the world you fly, like a tea tray in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle." Here's the dormouse shook itself and began singing in its sleep, "Twinkle, twinkle, 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 twinkle," and went on so long reason so many tea things are put out here? She asked. Yes, that's it, said the other with a sigh. It's always tea time, and we've no time to waste the things between whiles. Then you keep moving around, I suppose, said Alice. Exactly so, said the other, as the things get used up. But what happens when you come to the beginning again? Alice ventured to ask. Suppose we changed at the subject, the marcher interrupted, yawning. I'm getting tired of this. I thought the young lady tell us a story. I'm afraid I don't know one, said Alice, rather alarmed at the proposal. Then the dormouse shall, they both cried. Wake up, dormouse, and they pinched it on both sides at once. And the dormouse slowly opened his eyes. I wasn't asleep, he sighed in a hoarse, weeply voice. I heard every word you fellows were saying. Tell us a story, sighed the marcher. Yes, please, do please, pleaded Alice. And be quick about it, added the other, or you'll be asleep again before it's done. Once upon a time there were three little sisters. The dormouse began in a great hurry, and their names were Elsie, Lizzie, and Tilly, and they lived in the bottom of a well. What did they live on? Sighed Alice, who always took a great interest in questions of eating and drinking. They lived on track treacle, said the dormouse after thinking a minute or two. They couldn't have done that, said gently remarked. They have been ill. So they were, said Dormouse. Very ill. Alice tried to fancy that to herself what such extraordinary ways of living would be like, but it puzzled her too much, so she went on. But why did they live at the bottom of the well? Take some more tea, the marcher said to Alice very earnestly. I've had nothing yet, Alice replied in one offended tone, so I can't take more. You mean you can't take less, said the other. It's very easy to take more than nothing. Nobody asked your opinion, said Alice. Making personal remarks now, the others asked remarkably. Alice did not quite know what to say to this, so she helped herself to some tea and bread and butter. This was part 5. Let's see you at part 6. Hope you enjoyed.